In 2023, I rode 26 new coasters. That's one for every letter of the alphabet. Apocalypse, Batman, I guess none of them start with C. Sorry. Anyway, some of them were good and some were, well, not. But I promised after making my merger video that I would at least try to be more positive. So I'll just stick with the good ones today. Thanks to MikeGazelle6407 for keeping me on track. Anyway, let's look at the new coasters I rode this year and pick out the top 10 best ones. Number 10, Batman the Ride at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Everyone gives the Batman clones a bad rap because, well, they're clones. It's almost seen as a chore that you have to ride the same ride every time you go to a Six Flags park. But with this being my very first one, I was able to give Batman the benefit of the doubt, and I found it quite enjoyable. I got my first ride in the front row and loved every second of it. I found it to be very forceful and relentless, even though it was short. Batman slides in as my number 13 coaster overall. Number 9, Apocalypse the Ride at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Why does Magic Mountain feel the need to include the ride after every ride name? We're not stupid. We can see that it's neither the movie nor the event the ride was named for. But either way, the name doesn't define the ride itself does, and I think Apocalypse definitely delivers. For this one though, I don't necessarily think it's the forces. Something about this coaster was different for it to land in this spot on this list. Apocalypse was crammed into a really small plot of land, and GCI was called to do what GCI does best, build a twister wooden coaster. On my first ride, Apocalypse delivered an absolutely out-of-control feeling, with all the turns and tunnels and the roar of the wheels flying over the tracks. Nothing could have prepared me for that sensory experience, and I loved every second of it. I just love wooden coasters. How many times have I mentioned that on this channel? I don't know. But Apocalypse took my number 12 spot overall on my credit list. Number 8, Gold Striker at California's Great America. I just gave a whole explanation for why Apocalypse is great. Do I really need to explain why another GCI is great? Despite saying Great America didn't actually need this ride, I do think it's an absolutely amazing addition to this park. The difference between this and Apocalypse is that the ride is bigger and the elements are a little bit more sprawled out, meaning that it has less of that out-of-control ride experience that Apocalypse delivered. And at first, after a morning ride, I wondered why people liked it so much. But by the end of the day, Gold Striker had some amazing forces, striking my number 10 overall spot. Number 7, Giant Dipper at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. The third and final Woody on this list, and I already made a whole video about this ride, since it was just so amazing and nobody ever seems to talk about it. I thought it was extremely smooth and had a lot of good airtime. It maintained good pacing all the way to the end, and I think it may have even gotten better at the end. I can't think of anything else to say about this ride except that it was just really good. It even dipped itself as my number 9 coaster overall. Number 6, West Coast Racers at Six Flags Magic Mountain. For the crap that their trains are, Premier did a really good job with this ride. I didn't have very high expectations because, on paper, this ride looks like a sheerly GP pleaser. Sure, the GP will love a launched racing coaster with a couple inversions. It's small and it doesn't look like it has much force, and I thought that Six Flags was just kinda cheaping out on this one. Can you blame me for my low expectations? But this ride was probably one of the biggest surprises of this year's new credits. The launches, all 4 of them, were very powerful, and every element had solid forces, especially the helixes that made up the end of each half. It raced right into my number 8 overall spot on my credit list. Number 5, Flight Deck at California's Great America. I don't know what made this so much better than Batman. I rode them like 5 months apart though, so maybe that's why. I might have to rethink my credit list, but I don't want to do that until I ride one or the other again. Still, Flight Deck was amazing. It was punchy, and though it only has 2,200 feet of track, it uses every one of them to the fullest. I particularly enjoyed the finale helix over the lake, something that Batman lacked at the end. Flight Deck earned itself the number 6 spot on my credit list. Number 4. Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Has anyone ever asked you what superpower you would choose if you had the chance? I've always said flying. Sadly, Tatsu is probably as close as I'm gonna get, but that's pretty good. Soaring over Magic Mountain is an absolutely amazing experience. Grace is the name of the game here, although the pretzel loop does provide some amazing forces. I wish we could have more B&M flyers in the world, but I suppose they're too expensive for most parks to afford. Sad. Still, Tatsu flew right into my number 5 spot overall. Number 3. Wonder Woman, Flight of Courage, at Six Flags Magic Mountain. So, the coaster that has flight in its name feels less like flying than another coaster in the same park. How ironic. But despite what everyone says about this ride not delivering on expectation, I think it's great. I think it has solid airtime and solid zero-G moments, and for me, that's the recipe for a really good ride. That's why Wonder Woman lassoed my number 4 credit overall. Number 2. Railblazer at California's Great America. What could be better than Wonder Woman, with its solid airtime and solid zero-G moments? Maybe a ride with solid airtime and solid zero-G moments and some snappy elements on top. For the shorter ride that Railblazer offers, it's extremely whippy. I think they might use a lot of extra grease on the wheels because this ride basically slides over the track. Railblazer blazed the trail to my number 3 spot overall, something I never would have expected before riding it. Before we get to the number 1, let's add an honorable mention, because why not? This honorable mention goes to Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego. With this being my first B&M dive, I didn't know exactly what to expect. Everyone said it was a weaker dive coaster, and my expectation of dive coasters was low anyway, because I thought they were just GP pleasers. The ride's smaller height and shorter length than other dives didn't do it any favors either, but after riding this just once, I was entirely blown away. I loved the dangle over the drop, and I thought the rest of the ride had some excellent forces. I also loved the drop in the back row for its excellent airtime, because it has a beyond vertical drop. The short track length was disappointing, but the quality of what it did have certainly made up for it. I'm very excited to experience bigger and better dives in the future. Number 1 goes to X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. X2 is not comparable to any other rides on this list. It is something else entirely. This ride questions your definition of reality as you try to figure out which way gravity is even pulling you. You think you're going one way only to realize you're traveling in another. I didn't even get to sit in an inside seat, and I still utterly enjoy this ride. The roughness only adds to the experience. There's no place I could put this coaster in my overall rankings except for the number 1 spot. It was really sad that I didn't get to ride Twisted Colossus this year, as I'm almost certain it would have made this list. But whatever, it's fine. In case you were wondering, the only thing I have planned coaster-wise for 2024 is a Disneyland trip in April, where I won't be picking up any new coaster credits. But I am really interested to ride Runaway Railway for the first time, so there's that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope 2024 brings you some more coaster adventures.